the real tragedy, I think the real thing that like sucks is, democracy is great, but the value of democracy will always be limited by the understanding of the average citizen, right? Now, that's not an anti-democracy take. That's just a fact of life. That's why the founding fathers wanted education for people, because the smarter the average person is, the better decisions they're able to make. The issue is reality is getting incredibly complicated, Back in like 1400 or 1500, you could understand, I think, almost everything that you need to make political decisions if you had a standard bearer and like a political theorist. Like a standard bearer, so you understood like if you knew all of the lords, the noblemen, all the aristocrats, if you knew the bloodlines, the families, and everything, and you had a basic understanding of political science, that was like the apex of political decision making back then. You barely needed to know econ. What was the economy back then? You taxed land for grain? Seriously. But nowadays, everything is so unimaginably complicated. Is that who a standard bearer is? No, it's not a standard bearer. It's another name. It's what's the name for a person? They were usually in a king's court, and it was their job to keep track of all the royal families. They had to know all the coats of arms. A herald? Was that their name? A herald. Thank you. Yeah. Their job was to know everything about all the families and stuff. Uh Now, I'm not to say back then there wasn't complicated stuff, because there totally was, but nowadays life is so complicated. It feels like a lot of the conveniences we enjoy rely upon the existence of systems so complicated that there's no way people could ever make democratic decisions about them, Like like algorithms in AI, machine learning. This is like, I don't know. This is an argument in favor of technocracy, but I'm not a technocrat. I don't like the idea of letting all these decisions just get made by highly educated people who aren't democratically accountable, or who are fleetingly democratically accountable. I think, maybe within some limits. Like, obviously, decisions about medicine should be made by doctors. Okay, easy enough, or at least the council of doctors should be taken into severe consideration when making decisions about medicine. It's very, very, very complicated. That's true to an extent, Rain Warrior. It's true to an extent. It's not like CEOs know much about tech. Well, not all the time, at least. Anyway, it's really, really difficult. I don't know if there's really a solution at all, because people want to construct a, a real free marketplace of ideas, right? People talk about how social media monopolization hurts that, and it does. So maybe you decentralize it. Okay, well, that doesn't really fix the issue, does it? All it means is that your voice is smaller. Decentralized social media just means that you're limiting people's speech, because now your words can only reverberate across an audience of 500,000 instead of 500 million. You're like uploading videos to 400 sites to try to, I don't think that really fixes it. It kind of damages it, if anything. But the issue is, there's never really been a public commons, What was the public commons 300 years ago? It was the town square. And what happened in the town square? You'd go there and shout and hold your pamphlets. Did anyone listen to you? Maybe. People would throw rocks at you. That would happen. People would throw rocks at you. People would shout at you. When was there really a a forum for free discourse? I don't know if it's ever existed. Usually what we do is we fetishize, like, the Parthenon, the idea of these learned philosopher kings, debating philosophy in like, midst pillars and columns and whatever. But that's not an open marketplace of ideas. That was where society's elites got to talk with each other. That's a technocracy. That wasn't a fucking free open marketplace of ideas. The peasantry, the serfs, and the slaves were not allowed to walk in there and talk about whatever they wanted. So really what we're talking about here hasn't ever existed, ever, at any point. So I don't even know what like system we're... Do we want a system where one person can go viral and have their words heard by 3 billion people overnight? Do we want a system where you're only really heard within your community, and if you want to go beyond that, you have to work through highly regimented media structures? What's the solution? I genuinely do not know. I have no idea. Are algorithms destructive because they essentially roll the dice on what people will actually see and disconnect them from interests they might otherwise have, because they allow technocracies to manufacture consent by directing people's thoughts this thing. I have no answers to these questions. Literally none. I have no answers to these questions. I have no solutions here. Anyone who proposes to have solutions to these problems is lying to you. I can say that with confidence. They're either arrogant or they're lying, okay? There are ways of making it a bit better, ways of like sort of improving some things, but fixing it is, I think, it's